Good afternoon. I'm your host, Nicole Salvi, and welcome back to CaribLuxe Hot Topics. The latest news is as follows. We have breaking news from the Middle East. The Trump administration and other world leaders have actually successfully brokered a ceasefire deal. Thank God. So as part of that deal, Hamas has actually returned 20 hostages to Israel, and Israel has given the favor back. They've actually freed almost 2,000 Palestinians from its jails on Monday. So fantastic. Prompting emotional scenes of families reuniting, and tears were all flowing. So with that historic deal, we're actually praying and wishing that it actually holds and it's actually successful. Back to news in the Caribbean. Unfortunately, family, we're going to have to brace ourselves for war. The situation is dire between the United States and Venezuela. The verdict post the emergency UN Council meeting last week is that indeed war is imminent in the Caribbean region. Here's what the ambassador from Venezuela to the UN actually had to say.
War. Ambassador, do you believe that the U.S. attack against Venezuela is imminent?
We believe that they are preparing themselves. I mean, you cannot sustain this kind of mobilization display for 2 years. They have to act shortly. That's the logic, the military logic. There are costs, there are plans, and there are opportunities, and that's why I'm coming here, because we believe that they are thinking something to do in this very same year. I don't know exactly when, but I'm not a magician, or I don't have the power to or divination, but it's obvious that they are trying to do something. Yesterday they were in Trinidad with a very, very, very heavy equipment, airplanes, helicopters, ships, military ships.
As you can hear, the meeting was futile. Venezuela's efforts to bring the United States back to the actual negotiation and diplomatic table has failed. America is not interested in any talks at all. Matter of fact, the U.S. ambassador to the UN has categorically stated that the United States is not interested in any type of talks with Venezuela. Can you imagine? And the Trump administration has instructed his administration to actually completely use all of its military might to fulfill its objectives. Wow, that's shocking. This is not a new story with Trump's vehement campaign to get rid of the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro. It's not new. Let's have a quick look back at all his efforts. So during his first sort of term in office, he was unabashed with his desire to get Maduro out of power. And he was not coy about it. He was very vocal about it. Now, as we go forward in his second term, he's actually changing. He's actually using a new tactic and being uncharacteristically not Trump. Less direct, which we know that doesn't really go with Trump, right? So even though Trump continues to say that the Maduro government is illegal, it's not legitimate, he's not the leader there, he says, we're not talking about regime change in Caracas. So what are you talking about? Instead, he actually is putting forward the long-standing accusations that Maduro is a drug lord and a dangerous criminal. The plan is to force Maduro out, completely out, as part of Trump's bogus ongoing fight against drug cartels. Here is the massive conundrum, however. Donald Trump actually idolizes and adores dictators such as Putin and Kim Jong-un. He, however, does not like Maduro. He abhors him, to be factual. The situation in the Caribbean is now dire as the United States has positioned some 4,000 troops in a region and also secured Trinidad and Tobago as one of their allies, where they can actually use Trinidad's area, their ground, their country, to execute air campaigns against Venezuela. Outrageous. The U.S. also was eyeing Grenada. They actually asked Grenada to utilize their airspace. But recently, yesterday, the people of Grenada has spoken out. They have said a resounding no. We do not want to be a part of any sort of U.S. Venezuelan issues. So I don't think that's going to work, right? So the ironic thing is that as of the 1st of January, can you believe it? January 2026, the United States will ban fish imports from Grenada because of the lack of effective marine mammal protection. So on one hand, they're actually saying on this hand, we want help from you. Can you help us to bombard Venezuela with our airstrikes? On the other hand, they're saying, well, thank you for utilizing your ground, but guess what? We're still banning your food. It's really amazing. Here's a caveat. Once war commences in the Caribbean region, it'll be a state of emergency, without a doubt. Ramifications of this war will include complete sort of cessation of commercial activity on the Caribbean Sea. What does that mean? So it will impose debilitating and disastrous circumstances for the region, such as you will not be able to get any sort of imports, food, everyday commodities, as well as medical supplies. Undoubtedly, this will cripple the Caribbean and create an unprecedented level of upheaval that the islands have never seen. We've never had this kind of war, any war down there to this degree. To further amplify the seriousness of the situation, both China and Russia have pledged their allegiance, their support to Venezuela. So without a doubt, this could be the spark of an ongoing regional war, or it could also be the actual fuse that kicks off World War III. So these are very trying times, guys. This is not a joke. We have to keep our sort of eyes open. As the situation continues to escalate, without a doubt, CaribLuxe Hot Topics will be on top of it. Moving back into the Caribbean, Jamaica, over the weekend, the father of the 13-year-old child, Santina Sargent, was arrested for sexual abuse, as well as her subsequent death. This is an ongoing investigation, and we'll continue to bring you updates as they unfold when it comes to that. In the Cayman Islands news, all is not rosy in Cayman. Its growing economy is masking the fact that earnings per person has dropped significantly. According to a report by consultancy Capital Economics, the report published on the 3rd of October warns that rapid growth of construction and tourism is driving down Cayman's GDP. On the surface, Cayman's economy seems to be strong, robust, amazing, right? But on the other side, due to the fast growth and expansion over the last decade, which is really about 3.2%, it's not. It's actually hurting the economy. Also, citizens of the Cayman Islands are reeling from high prices for everyday goods, as well as the Caymanians are having a lot of issues with unemployment and discrimination from major companies who simply do not want Caymanian persons employed in their companies. So as a result of that, Minister Michael Miles has actually went off and created a campaign to ensure that Caymanians can be gainfully employed without any discrimination. I would have never thought, as a Caymanian myself, that our entire situation on our beautiful islands would ever come to this. Okay. On another situation with British Airways, a British Airways jet traveling into Nassau was actually struck by lightning. And it was a serious situation because it was about 15 minutes outside of Nassau and it descended to 6,000 feet when this lightning strike happened. Thank God the plane made it to the ground safely. No one was hurt. However, the plane did sustain damage in the form of over 20 holes in one of its engines. So very important, sort of, could have been fatal. Thank God it was not. And BA has been having ongoing issues with their planes, delays, and now a lightning strike. So not a good thing. Closer to home, the U.S. government shutdown has now rolled into its second week. Not only are federal employees not getting their pay or getting laid off, it's the case scenario that it is disrupting a lot of the necessary sort of infrastructure of this country. We need the government to make a deal and get this government back in order. We will also keep you abreast of that. When it comes to ICE, over the weekend, ICE into yesterday was carrying out their rampage on major U.S. cities. The latest target is Chicago. During an actual operation where ICE was actually kidnapping and detaining U.S. citizens. It's totally, madness what's going on up here. They also used tear gas on protesters that were advocating for change and expressing their outrage. This is not cool. We're sort of reverting back to the 1960s with the civil rights sort of protest, where the persons that were taking part in those protests were treated horribly and degradingly. America, we need to wake up. So in the current immigration sort of operations and the temperature in this country, it is unsure of what will be happening. We're unsure what will be happening from day to day. The bottom line is this: a U.S. birth certificate or even passport, guys, is not a sort of level of protection anymore. It means nothing to ICE. Yet again, they're detaining people in very inhospitable, inhumane, totally degrading facilities and subjecting them to horrible interrogations and certain situations. With everything, guys, we will keep on top of what's happening here with ICE, as well as that impending war in the Caribbean. But to say that America is well and healthy is not accurate. In reality, the country is in a major crisis. A political commentator, James Carville, says, in his words and in his mind, Trump actually wants a civil war. He might be right. The country's unhinged. Who knows what MAGA will do? Okay. In entertainment news, guys, unfortunately, I am sad to report that Grammy Award-winning R&B and neo-soul singer D'Angelo passed away earlier today from pancreatic cancer. He was only 51. He actually is, going to be memorialized, and we'll bring you all that information as well. Known for this sexy neo-soul, can't get the words out of my voice, Brown Sugar. He was not only gorgeous to look at in those videos, but also the longtime love of Angie Stone, who in her own right was amazing. Angie actually died in March, I stand corrected, of March of this year. They're finally together. But as we hear, a mixed bag of positive and good. The bottom line is, guys, life is very short. We're only here for a short time. We come for a reason and a season, and when that reason and season is over, we transcend. We go to, as far as I'm concerned, a much better place in the lap and embrace of God's love. Thank you once again for joining me here on CaribLuxe Hot Topics. We will be back, and let's go and seize the day. Enjoy that day, guys. See you soon. Have a good evening, good morning, wherever you might be. We'll be back. Ciao.